So we've seen in a previous video how to use discriminated unions in F# to create a shape like this that could either be a rectangle or a circle. And I showed you in the last video how to initialize that as well on rows 6 and 7. So if you haven't checked out the previous video, please check that out. What we're going to look at in this one is how we can combine records with these discriminated unions. So that will allow us to become more powerful in terms of the complexity of the types that we have here. Because last video we simply initialized or defined a rectangle here and said that it would have a width and a length. But if we have very complex structures here, it might be a bit cumbersome to define that inline like this. And there, the interplay between records and these discriminated unions will be useful. So to get started on that, let me actually define the circle and the rectangle as different records so that are separate from this discriminated union down here. So the way we would do that is with the record type. So we would call it type and then maybe my circle like this. And we would define that in the following way. So like this. And here's where we would put the attributes. So I would say that it has a radius. And it's commonplace to capitalize these attributes within the records. And that would be of type float. Okay, so what I can do now when I define this is to replace circle here with the actual name of this record. So my circle. And you can see here that my circle refers to the type and circle is the name of this. Now we're getting an error down here. I'm gonna fix that in a while. Just don't worry about that for now, but it has to do with the initialization. Before, when we had this inline, we can simply provide the parameter, but now we need to define this as a record. So I'm gonna show you how to do that in a second. But before that, let's also define the other type. So here we're gonna have type my rectangle. Okay, and within, we're also gonna make a record of this like that. And here we're going to have width as the first parameter. And then we're going to have length as the second one like that. Okay, cool. And then we're going to take this name, this type name, and say that rectangle here is going to be of this record type like that. So the discriminated union here now takes on a very simple it becomes a very simple expression, and we have the details of the implementation in these particular records. Now, if we have this rectangle, we need to create this in the form of a structure. And the way we can do that is simply to wrap the parameters that we have here in these curly braces. That's going to turn it into a structure. And we need to separate the elements here with a semicolon instead of a comma, like that. And we also capitalized these attributes, so we just need to update the names here. But once we've done that, everything should be ready to go. So the error here is removed, and that's because we say that this thing here in these curly braces is now going to be a record with length 1.3 and width 10. And F# is able to recognize that that is actually the same as we have for the type declaration of the my rectangle record. So when we initialize a rectangle here, where we say already that it needs to be of the type my rectangle, we have this structure that contains the appropriate record. Okay, and for the circle, we similarly should wrap this to create a record of this parameter value 2.0, but we also need to specify in this case that we are actually referring to the radius here, like that. Okay, and once we have that, everything compiles. So this is how you would merge a discriminated union with record types in F#.